Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys former President Donald Trump's easiest pathway to 270 electoral votes in the 2024 general election. Basically, he needs to flip 3 states, and he should be able to flip them pretty easily, which is why it's called his easiest pathway. And the likelihood of Donald Trump flipping these 3 states to basically get him over 270 electoral votes is going to be very likely, which is why it's his easiest path. So basically, before we get started, I do want to mention we have channel memberships. The link to the channel memberships will be pinned in the comment section down below, or you can click it in the description section, or you can just find it on my channel page by clicking the join button. Become a member today. We have custom perks, custom emojis. And also, we just hit 1,000 subscribers, so make sure you are subscribed already. This is the first milestone of many milestones. We are now officially on the road to 2,000 subscribers. So now back to the video. So as I was saying, Donald Trump's easiest pathway is basically 3 states. So as I call it, title of this video is 3-state pathway to victory in the 2024 election. Those 3 states include 2 Sunbelt states, actually, including one from the Deep South and 1 Rust Belt state. And now if Donald Trump does not get one of the 2 Sunbelt states I mentioned in this video, then his only possible pathway is through the Rust Belt. So, the first state for part of Donald Trump's easiest pathway out of the 3 states is the Sunbelt state of Arizona, and then the deep southern state of Georgia, and then the Rust Belt state of Wisconsin. Now, all 3 of these states went to him back in 2016. So, there's a real possibility he wins them in 2024, which is part of his easiest pathway to do so. And all of these 3 states I just mentioned were decided by under a percentage point. These 3 states were decided by under percentage point back in 2020, meaning Joe Biden barely hung on to these states, and Joe Biden can definitely very well lose these states. Let's start off with Wisconsin. Joe Biden won it by 0.6% back in 2020, which is roughly 20,000 votes. To be exact, that's not a lot at all. That is the exact same margin Trump won it in 2016, 0.6. So Wisconsin, as we can tell, is very swingy because it went to Trump in 2016 by 0.6 and went to Biden in 2020 by the exact same margin of 0.6, which is the same margin Trump won it in 2016. Okay, moving on to Georgia. Georgia went to Trump by 5.5 percentage points back in 2016, and then it flipped to Biden in 2020, mainly due to the fact that Joe Biden and the Democrats got high turnout from African Americans, which in 2024, that is likely not going to happen. I do not expect him to get the same amount of turnout from African American voters like he did in 2020. In the state specifically, we're talking about Georgia. He's not going to get the same turnout because he's so disapproved of. He has done nothing to help the community. So we can already eliminate that. We can officially say that Joe Biden is not going to win Georgia. So that's probably the easiest part. I would say out of these 3 states, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia, Donald Trump has the best shot at winning Georgia out of all these 3 states. I would say probably the most difficult one would probably be the state of Arizona or Wisconsin. You can argue Wisconsin. You can argue Arizona. Arizona is trending to the left, which is why you may make the case that Arizona out of these 3 states is the hardest to flip for Trump. But you can also argue Wisconsin because, Wisconsin, Joe Biden won it the most in 2020 out of these 3 states. Like I just mentioned, Wisconsin went to Biden by 0.6. Georgia went to Biden by 0.2, which is roughly 10,000 votes, which is barely anything. And then Arizona went to Biden in 2020 by 0.4 or 0.3. So that's how close these states were. And that's, they're flippable. They're very flippable for Donald Trump. And I think he can do that. And I would not be shocked if he flipped all 3 of these states. Now, what I will be shocked if Joe Biden retains at least 2 of these states. If Joe Biden wins either, I would say, Arizona or Wisconsin, if he wins both of those states, I will be shocked because he's just so disapproved of. And the economy is in the gutter. Inflation has skyrocketed. It has been going down recently, but if you compare it to Trump's inflation rates were way lower. Gas prices were way lower. Grocery store prices were way lower under Trump. And then obviously, you take a look at the wars across the globe. We didn't have these type of wars when Trump was in office, and guess what? We did when Biden's in office. And the Senate is passing, I would say, aid packages to other countries that American citizens don't approve. The aid packages to Israel or Ukraine that the Senate is passing, majority of American citizens actually don't approve of the aid packages going to other countries. And you take a look at the polls, it's favoring Trump, and Trump, according to most betting odds, is favored to win the 2024 presidential election. In my opinion, I think part of Trump's pathway to 270 electoral votes, this is his easiest pathway. This actually puts him at 272 electoral votes when you fill out the map. His easiest pathway is through these 3 states, Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin. And the main reason why it's his easiest pathway with these 3 states is because, number one, it gets him to 272 electoral votes, which is barely what he needs to pass 270. It's the closest. 272 is the closest of Trump's victory. If you take a look at all the possible scenarios, 272 electoral votes is through these 3 states, and it is the closest to 270, which is why it's so, I would say, the easiest path. And then, obviously, these 3 states were decided by under 1%, under a percentage point in 2020, which is why it's also easy for Trump to flip these states. And the closest out of all of them was Georgia. You can argue that, if Trump loses Wisconsin, his pathway gets very, harder. It gets way harder because he must win either Michigan or Pennsylvania. And if he doesn't, he's probably not going to win the election. But let's fill out every single state, and let me show you guys how this is Trump's easiest pathway. So now that we have the map, official map filled out, this is Donald Trump's easiest pathway to 270. It's through one Rust Belt state and 2 southern states. Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin are the 3 states he should focus, the number 1 state Trump should focus on to flip in 2024, I would probably say is Wisconsin. And if not, probably Arizona. I think Georgia will probably be the easiest flip for Donald Trump in the 2024 election. Because I think a blue Georgia back in 2020 was probably a fluke. I don't think we're going to see another blue Georgia again anytime soon in the general election. Number 1, there's COVID, obviously. And Americans wanted change. Voters wanted change in leadership. They got tired of Donald Trump's handling of the pandemic. And then obviously when Biden came in, they saw that things were not as better as they thought they would be under Biden. So maybe they regret voting for Joe Biden. And especially when you consider the African-American turnout was just so high for Biden in 2020 in the state of Georgia alone. If you take away that factor, which I don't expect he will get the same turnout, so that's already going to help Trump. There's a lot of pluses for Trump in the 2024 election. And then you have these third-party candidates, RFK Jr., Cornel West, and we heard Chris Christie, it's not official, but, there's rumors that he might even have to step in the race as an independent or a third-party candidate. And the thing that helped Trump win the 2016 election was that there are more options. There's more third-party candidates. And what limited Donald Trump and helped Joe Biden in 2020 was that there was less third-party candidates. So with that being said, this all goes into, plays a factor and it plays a role into helping Donald Trump. So Donald Trump's easiest path to 270 is through Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona, those 3 states. And I think out of all of these states, I think Georgia will probably be the easiest to flip. And Donald Trump doesn't even need Nevada. He doesn't need Michigan. He doesn't need Pennsylvania. Joe Biden could still win Pennsylvania. Joe Biden could still hold on to Michigan. Joe Biden can still win a state like Nevada and still lose the election. And this is what I mean by the 2024 election. The map favors Republicans. This map, specifically the 2024 presidential election map, favors Donald Trump because he only needs to flip 3 states. And the 3 states that he needs to flip, part of his easiest pathway, it only went to Joe Biden by under 1 percentage point. Yet again, we go back to Arizona. It went to Biden by 0.4. It went to Trump in 2016. Georgia was a Trump state in 2016. It only went to Biden by 0.2. Wisconsin went to Trump in 2016 and only went to Biden by 0.6. So these 3 states are very flippable. And if Donald Trump can win these 3 states alone, he can lose anything else. But if he wins Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia, those are key. He is automatically voted in president to his last and final term. All he needs to do is win Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona. And if he doesn't, in a scenario where this is wrong, and if he doesn't win Wisconsin, let's say Biden wins Wisconsin, but let's say Biden wins Wisconsin, but if Trump wins Arizona and Georgia, he loses at 262. If Biden wins Wisconsin, but Trump flips Arizona and Georgia, Trump is going to need one of the two Rust Belt states, either Michigan or Pennsylvania, if he loses Wisconsin and wins Arizona and Georgia. I would say probably he would win Pennsylvania because obviously Michigan voted to the left of Pennsylvania in 2020. Michigan was more blue than Pennsylvania was back in 2020. Michigan went to Biden by nearly 3 percentage points, and Pennsylvania only went to Biden by 1%. Meanwhile, Michigan went to him by 3%. So obviously, Michigan is more Democrat than Pennsylvania is. Now, if there was a scenario where Michigan voted to the right of Pennsylvania, which is kind of odd, if there was a scenario like that, mainly because Joe Biden lost a lot of the Arab/Muslim vote. That's the only reason, because of what's happening in Israel. And that's the only case scenario in which Pennsylvania votes to the left of Michigan. Otherwise, it should be the other way around. It should be Michigan voting to the left of Pennsylvania. So, in a scenario where Biden wins Wisconsin, but Trump flips back Arizona and Georgia, Trump needs Pennsylvania. And it obviously becomes harder, because obviously his easiest pathway is through Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia. Now, in a scenario where Biden wins Arizona, which is also possible, because like I mentioned, the state is shifting left in favor of Democrats because you have these John McCain neocon style voters not turning out for Donald Trump, and it's going to only help Biden. And obviously you have these Californians moving down south to Arizona, helping trend the state in favor of Democrats. So in a scenario where Biden wins Arizona, which is a real possibility at this point, Trump's only chance of winning is through the Rust Belt. Yes, that's pretty much it. And there is no scenario in which I see Biden winning Georgia. There is absolutely no scenario I see Biden winning Georgia. I just don't see it because of his margin in 2020 was just so small. And there is no scenario where Biden wins more than last time. I don't see a scenario in which Biden surpasses his 303 electoral votes that he got last time. He's going to get less than 300. I guarantee you. And I think whether you have Biden winning or losing, you can agree that Biden will not touch 300 electoral votes like he did in 2020. So there you guys go. Donald Trump's easiest pathway to victory in 2024 is through Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona, which should put him at 272 electoral votes. And I think he can very well do it. Arizona went to him in 2016. Same with Georgia. Same with Wisconsin. It's very likely that Trump flips these three states as part of his easiest pathway to victory. And if Donald Trump somehow wins, but doesn't win one of these three states, Georgia, Wisconsin, or Arizona, I will be shocked. Because let's say Trump wins Pennsylvania, but loses Wisconsin. That will be shocking because Wisconsin voted to the right of Pennsylvania in basically every single election. So let me know what you guys think on Donald Trump's easiest pathway to victory. Do you agree with me that his easiest path to victory is by flipping the three states of Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin? Because obviously those three states were decided by under a percentage point, which is why it's so likely of actually happening. So let me know what your thoughts on the map are, and don't forget to let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget we have channel memberships. One last final reminder, the pin in the comment section down below. You can find them in the description section, or you can just click the join button on my channel page. Become a member today. We have custom perks, custom emojis, and also we just hit 1,000 subscribers, so make sure you are subscribed before I